Salutations everyone, welcome to another Overwatch 2 video where we're going to talk about Wuyang, the newest character coming to Overwatch. We got to try him out in quick play, and while I'll reserve like actual final judgment on how good the character is and everything, once we get to play him in the competitive, we only did get to use him in quick play. So he was actually a bit very intuitive. When you first see the kit, it's like, oh wow, we have like a controllable primary fire with the orbs coming out of the staff here. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool, totally unique and different. Might take a while to get used to. Nope, because the controls in this game are just really good. And anytime they do something new like this, that seems like it might take a while to get used to for something, it really never does. And that's just kudos to the design team. But when we first saw his kit, I was like, oh wow, this guy like can't heal at all, right? Like his healing output is not going to be good. He's going to be super niche in how often you can play him with what comps and what maps and stuff like that. And so you're trying to snipe out the Hanzo there. But you are a support, so healing is still going to be your primary function. And I was surprised at how much healing output this guy was doing, even though he has really no burst heals, and his main way of healing is not great. So he kind of has a Zenyatta Harmony Orb like mechanic in that you choose a target to have passing healing for 25 per second, and the maximum range is 20 meters. So very similar to Harmony Orb, but actually doesn't heal as much as Harmony Orb because you can add on to that healing by focusing on them with your resource meter. That adds another 50, so you'll be doing 75 heals per second while you are channeling with your resource on that target. If you run out of resource, you still do the passive healing with your targeted healing on the the way that you target them, and you can also still switch between targets that you are passively healing even if you do not have any resource. So at least with the character, you are constantly healing, like with the Harmony Orb. So that unlike other characters, we don't really have someone who has a Harmony Orb plus another way of healing. So that kind of healing kind of stacks up and sneaks up on you on how much that you might actually be doing. And your other way of healing you have is the restorative stream, or sorry, the Guardian Wave. So this sends a water wave forward that increases the amount of healing perceived by allies and knocks them back. Does a little bit of damage, and one of your perks, you get it to return to you, which is obviously the one that you want to do. While the tri-shot one isn't bad, I messed around with it. I think I do in this gameplay as well. It's good. It's not useless. So hey, there's that. There's so many characters that have, one good perk or only two good perks, but there's no point in choosing another one. But hey, there might be some cases where you want to get the triple shot, but for the most part, you're gonna want to have the Guardian Wave do the return to sender. So that will increase the amount of healing received by allies. So you get jumped along with somebody else. You send out the Guardian Wave. You also use your Rushing Torrent to maybe get out of the way. So with the Doomfist here, I had to push up so I was still in range to heal him with my passive, as well as get the Restoring Beam on him when he was in need of that. But I could also retreat while I'm getting dove on by the D.Va and help out with my teammates, and it worked out pretty well here in this game. Obviously, it's quick play, and people play the game totally differently, and we absolutely curb stomp on this game, so it's not like wholly indicative about what the character can do. But here's the little tri-shot in action. Boom, boom. 2 hits on a Mercy, and I wanted to finish her off. Somebody did, so oh no, I'm in no man's land. No, I'm not. I'm gonna wave on right out of here, and I'm Gucci. I'm good to go. So the character is definitely not super vulnerable, but also it's not like a get out of jail free card. His Rushing Torrent only lasts for 4 seconds, and the movement speed buff is only 50%. So it's nothing crazy. he is still diveable. That is the only thing that he has to protect himself, unless you self-ult. In case you didn't know, the ults you could either cast on somebody, as I wasted on the Bastion there because the Doomfist, I couldn't target him. And probably should have used it on myself since the Bastion wasn't going to be able to do anything. But hey, he wasn't a target for a couple of seconds, so maybe that's just a little bit of, you know, helping that just doesn't show up on the scoreboard. And here we just take care of business in overtime, take care of the baby diva, and we're Gucci with the full hold here. Get the splash damage. He was reflecting and wasn't sure what I was gonna do, so I was like, hey, backsplash the backboard, and we nail the shot, and that's what happened. So you're gonna get a bit of splash damage, a tiny bit of knockback, not really anything that's gonna get an environmental kill, but still, it's quite nice that you don't have to get the direct impact. And obviously, if you do direct impact in somebody in a group, you're gonna do a little bit of damage on all of them. So that is quite nice. So how do you want to play this guy? Where do you want to play him? You saw me with a Doomfist against a Diva, and now in this game, it's quite the opposite. So I do think he works best in a dive comp. If you want to equate him to what Zen can do when it comes to, like, hey, he's a healer but has decent mid to long range poke. He's definitely not as good at long range as Zenyatta, because your primary fire is it's a projectile. It's kind of slow, even though you can guide it, and it can be pretty big, especially with the triple shot. You're not going to catch many people off guard enough times to get the kill, where Zen with the charge volley or, you know, a Discord, you know, 2-tap headshot, that's going to be great. With Wuyang, his primary fire, the Zhuan Yu staff, it does only become controllable after 5.5 meters. And it doesn't become empowered until you've been holding onto it for 0.3 seconds. So as you can see, when you're firing, you don't want to just rapid fire. You want to get that 0.3 seconds off to get the charge to do the additional empowered damage. So you want to stay really mid-range. He can be quite vulnerable close range, even though he does have some tools that will work right in your face to get away, or, you know, use the restorative stream on your teammate right after using the Guardian Wave. It's not a huge burst of healing, so it was never annoying to try to deal against what Wuyang's healing output was, but I led the last game in healing, and this one I'm only like 300 points off the enemy Moira when it comes to top heals, so he can heal more than you would think. But again, it's just quick play. I'm going to get reserve full judgment until we can get him in a competitive scene, because in quick play, everything is great. Everything works. It's just people play differently, and people don't really care, and people play different ways and pick different characters. So, like, absolutely any synergy can work. Any tank is great. Any support's great. Any DPS is great in quick play. It's just it's a weird playgrounds to be in. But his ability to peel isn't bad. He's not going to be the best at main healing a tank, so you definitely, I think, are limited with what tanks you run him with. Like I said, dive is great. More so, I think he's better with Diva than he is with Doomfist, just because Doomfist can just go in and fly in. But if you have someone like a Life Weaver or someone who can really help out the Doomfist more than you, then you're going to be totally fine. Where I don't think he'll excel is if he doesn't have a shield, or if your tank can't just be a mobile threat. So obviously any tank, any support is good when you have a decent Wrecking Ball or Doomfist on your team, because they're going to take care of themselves. They're flying around at the speed of sound with no places to go. You just got to follow your own rainbow at that point, and just do what you do. Just do what you do. They cannot be babysat because they're unbabysittable characters for the most part, outside of Lifeweaver just yanking the chain on a Doomfist who went in too far, or a Hammond that's getting CC'd or something like that. So you are definitely going to be okay with the dive tanks, because you're going to be able to get some passive healing, and you can kind of keep up with your tank a little bit more so than some of the others, again, you want to keep everything really mid-range, long-range. It's passable. You might be able to get a nice charge shot on somebody that's weak and finish them off. It's nice that you're able to just kind of spam at any point. Say I can send them up the stairs. I can send my shots around corners. They're not always going to hit, but it's good to have the option to harass and just to be able to do a little bit of damage to them where they probably can't do as much damage to you, especially if they don't have, like, you know, a Junkrat grenades bouncing off the walls themselves. So we do a good job cleaning up there. Don't even need to use my ultimates. Didn't get a lot of great ultimates. Didn't see many very good ultimates with Wuyang. But obviously, you know, it gives a protective barrier, you know, some shields on the target, knocks them down. Obviously, the synergy with Tracer seems to be the best on paper because you knock them down, then you get the free pulse bomb. The one time Wuyang did that to me when I was Tracer, I didn't have my pulse bomb, so I didn't get to pull off that combo. Probably I would have whiffed it anyway. But to get a guaranteed stick on a character like that with that kind of combo is pretty great. Definitely not one of the better support ultimates in the game because, like, it doesn't do team-wide healing. It doesn't, like, guarantee a save target nearly as much as some other abilities in the game, be they cooldowns or some other ultimates. Maybe you just kind of want to use it like you do a nano. But obviously, you know, going in with a Genji blade is not going to be as nearly as impactful. You'll help knock somebody down and maybe get the guaranteed kill, but the nano's just going to be better because you're going to get multiple kills off of that. But I never felt really that in danger as Wuyang. You know, obviously I knew I was going to die here, so just do what you can. But you can be a lot more wily and hard of a target to knock down than you would normally think, using the rushing torrent and the guardian wave to just kind of sustain somebody on your team for just a little bit without being killed. You might be able to pull off a nice little comeback. You know, he has the ability, and that's really all you can ask for. I don't see him being super overpowered outside of dive. You're gonna want to shield with him just because he doesn't do really good pocket healing. So you're not gonna want to. He's not gonna be like the best with Orisa, you know, unless she has her shield, obviously. But that's a tier 2 perk, and I typically don't go with that build when I play Orisa, but a lot of people do. And thankfully, with the new season coming out, they're going to be taking care of that armor glitch in the game that's made armor really strong. That's why we've seen so many Orisas. It wasn't just people playing a lot of really strong Orisa in Stadium and saying, hey, let me just keep playing her in normal, and oh my gosh, she's good. No, nothing about her really changed except for a glitch in the Matrix that made her just super extra unkillable and made Ramatra the least killable tank in like the history of Overwatch. It's really ridiculous what Ramatra's been doing in the past season. Definitely the best tank, bar none. It might still be, even with the revert, but that is super duper annoying, and Wuyang definitely not one of the better supports at keeping a super tank up, just because he can do a good amount of heals, and in the right comp, yeah, I do lead my team and or the lobby in heals, as well as damage and least amount of deaths, because, you know, I'm a wily little guy. But for most comps, and in competitive especially, once he becomes playable, I don't think he's going to be able to retain that title nearly as consistently as you can in quick play, of course. But I was pleasantly surprised with him. So I would really say Diva, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist, Reinhardt. I hesitate to say Sigma because I don't know if Sigma will ever be good ever again. Sigma is just really not good, especially with every other tank just being really much better right now. And I don't know if we're going to see a point where Poke is going to be very good again very soon, unless some broken DPS comes out to where no one even bothers looking at the Sigma. But yeah, you could theoretically work him better with the Sigma. You know, it's just like, he's not going to be that great with Zarya. He's not going to be fantastic with Orisa. He's not going to be that good with really anything that doesn't have high mobility or a big shield. Just the brawler tanks, it's not going to be that great. He's just not going to be that great because you're going to want to have more heals, you know, especially in game modes where you can't, you know, rely on your other supports to do super duper well, which is every single one, you know, unless you're playing like a full team and you all trust each other and you all know what to do. But I was pleasantly surprised on my survivability, as well as how much, you know, damage I was doing, how much I felt like I was contributing. And he's fun. He's a fun character to play with, which I know is you know, a big deal for a lot of people because it's a video game and you just want things to be fun. Whether they're good or bad, you want them to be fun. It makes him look, I'm just dancing around. I'm keeping people up and not being a big target. Look, I almost lead the lobby in heals, led all healers in damage and kills, and the least amount of eliminations. Again, it's just quick play. You could do this with Mercy if you wanted. You could lead the lobby in kills. It's quick play. Anything can happen. So I'll reserve my right to fully judge him when he comes out fully in competitive, but he is going to be very handcuffed to what composition you're playing, specifically what tank you are playing, and the ranges at which you're in playing. Because if it's really long ranges, it's not going to be very good unless you're diving. That still works with, you know, Doom or Wrecking Ball or something like that. But if it's a close range battle on like, you know, Hanamura or something like that, then you're going to want to pick something else. You're going to want to pick something else. You're going to want to pick something that has a bigger impact with the ultimates and more easy, sustainable healing for a brawl composition.